think people have about Brazil. I spoke about this on another video not too long ago, but I wanted to address them. I was just actually checking out a video this morning that Austin Holloman had put out. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him. He's one of these, I don't know, he's acting like he's like a retired passport bro. But he's in Kenya now. And he had ended up having to leave Brazil. He was one of the forerunners, one of the main people being loud about being passport bros back a few years ago in the pandemic. And so somehow, in between getting kicked out of Brazil, because literally some feminist activists ran him out of Brazil at that time, and now um, he's in Kenya, Nairobi, and he just had some run-ins in Nairobi that I guess kind of made him think Nairobi wasn't this perfect, idyllic place that he thought it was, where I guess some folks tried to attack him. But he keeps going back and forth between Nairobi and Brazil and his experiences living in Rio and stuff and comparing them. And, in a lot of ways, he's talking about like a very niche, small area of Brazil, because I think he's lived in Salvador and in Rio de Janeiro. And those are some of the most dangerous cities in in the country of Brazil. But actually, I have lived in Brazil. I have probably spent about 4 years in Brazil of my life. And to be honest with you, outside of those two cities that I just mentioned, I have not seen like even a drop of crime anywhere else in this country, even in all my travels. Right now, me and my kids, we live in Sao Paulo, in a really sweet area. This is a park by my house. We live in an area called Pinheiros. And I mean, nobody's going to say crime doesn't happen here, but you don't hear about a ton of violent crime, especially in the kind of inner city area. You might hear about more of that when you go out into what they call the quebradas, which is a lot of you think of as being like favela communities, which tend to be in the periphery and the outskirts of the city of Sao Paulo. But in terms of violent crime, I mean, at most, you obviously will hear about pickpocketing and stuff like that. But when you get up into places like Salvador and Rio, and I don't know, I heard Salvador has gotten better, but you still are dealing with a good bit of gun violence and a good bit of armed robbery and a lot of things that I've personally been through, particularly in Salvador, because I was just moving free. I was excited to be there. I was loving my life. It was my first time living in Brazil when I was up there. And I didn't realize just how much danger you could be in moving in the wrong areas and, speaking English too loud, making it known that you're not from that area. So some of the misconceptions that I think people have is that Brazil as a whole and as a country is like this super dangerous place, right? Which I think is just so laughable. I mean, my life is so peaceful here where I live, like literally so peaceful. Doesn't mean you can't come across problems, but my God, like my children are able to move around on their own. When we lived in St. Croix in the Virgin Islands, U.S. Virgin Islands, it would make me scared when my daughter would just go out somewhere with her friends, even at the age of 18, because that island is just so damn dangerous. You don't know if you're going to get caught up in a drive-by. You don't know if some shit's going to pop off and, you look up and you find out your loved one is dead just because they were in the wrong place at the wrong time. Like, it's such a violent island. So, like, coming here somewhere like Sao Paulo and knowing that so many other areas of Brazil, like me and my children have also lived in a different part of Bahia, so not in Salvador, but in a different part of Bahia called Itacaré. I never seen any crime at all. Nothing. It's all brown people. It's all people of color, indigenous, black, whatever. I ain't seen no crime. Small town, very tourism based. They cater to a lot of the white Brazilians that come up from the south where I live now. And so they kept that place cool. It wasn't a perfect little town. I'm not saying there was no crime, no drugs, nothing like that. But I didn't see nothing. And I moved all around there freely, lived in the communities, and lived back in the Not in the favelas, but I stayed back in some regular Brazilian neighborhoods, you know? So all I'm saying is that concept that Brazil is some super dangerous country overall is so ridiculous. And I'm so glad I never allowed that to permeate my mind and get in my head as something to abide by, you know, and that I took a chance on this place the first time I did 20 something years ago. Now, 20 something years ago in Salvador, where I was at the time, this shit was lit. I mean, I've been on hijacked buses, hijacked not in the sense where they took us off somewhere and was acting crazy, but, you know, hijacked buses as in gunmen came on the buses pointing guns at everybody and taking everything they had. So, you know, I have seen some of that stuff, but overall, it's all about where you choose to live in this country. It's not about all these stories of Brazil being dangerous. It's not about all of that. I think another misconception about Brazil is that you could come out here, especially as a man, especially if you're on the hunt for like women and you're on the hunt for what you think are easy women internationally. Like Brazilian women are smart. They're not really in that. That's how the guy that I talked about earlier in this video, Austin Holloman, that's how they ran his ass up out of here. Brazilian women are smart as hell. They're also not studying no random dudes that's coming around here with barely any money, nothing really to offer, and just think that they can come and, you know, just pay for poom, right? And so, not to say there aren't prostitutes, especially in certain cities. I mean, prostitution is everywhere, right? It's just a part of life. But, so not to say there aren't easy women, cheap women out here. But in terms of overall, these baddie women that they think they're going to come and get in Brazil for cheap, not at all. If you really want a bad woman, you know, this would be not the place to come because it's not easy like that. And the women are thinkers, they're smart, they're intellectual. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people had to learn that the hard way. Um, so I would also say one of the misconceptions is that everybody is that shaking samba girl that you see all over Instagram, you know, dancing all hard and fast and loose with no clothes on and all of this. And that's the average woman in Brazil. And it's far from that. And the average woman in Brazil is, you know, she's a businesswoman, she's making money, she's, you know, potential. They do have a tendency to like men that have money that can provide. If they are gonna, you know, expend energy with men, this is also a very open sexuality culture. So a lot of people are bisexual, or a lot of the women are even just gay in general. You know, so it's like there's so many things. Like it's a very freed up culture, and the women are not stuck on just thinking their lives revolve around trying to find a man to take care of them like that. Now you do have that element, but is she gonna be quality? Is the question. You know, will you find a quality woman with that mentality? I don't know. So while a lot of these passport bros are running around looking for, well, they act like quality women. It's like, yeah, but what quality is she gonna be if her only thought is just waiting for somebody to come save her? Because that just speaks to a low mentality, right? So these are some things to think about. So we already talked about number one, this misconception about Brazil being a super dangerous country, and number two, you know, the misconception about the women of Brazil. Um, Another misconception, you know, is that, and I think this is an important one to talk about, is that Brazil is like what they still like to refer to as a third world country. Now, that is a very outdated term. We really shouldn't even be using that term because third world, all of that has to do with like some old Soviet Union type stuff. Like it has nothing to do with like current times. But in other words, implying that Brazil is like an undeveloped place, an undeveloped country that's still, you know, needing to you know, come up and come up and rise up to meet what the other Western nations are. Total bullshit, to be honest with you. Out here is one, a cashless society, so they're very much up on all the digital stuff because nobody really uses cash here. Hi Moonshine, thank you. Please put a like on the video, y'all, when you come through. But yeah, so they have digitalized the Brazilian society in such a way that it runs pretty smooth once you get everything set up in their system, especially if you have residency and can get a bank account. It smooths out so much stuff for you here. that things are just way more up to date in terms of tech and everything like that here than they are in the US. I be telling people about it. One of the areas that always has struck me the most over the years, because I went many years without coming to Brazil, and then I came back. And when I came back, I was in shock at how up to date everything was, and how, how first world it is here, and how comfortable they've made it. And there are aspects of the bureaucracy that can get annoying sometimes, because it can be really like long-winded. But overall, so it's not the most efficient place. But overall, like the upgrades to the tech and to the ways that people get things done are so much that, it's shocking to Americans. I had a tour here that left last week. They were here for a couple of weeks, and they were like, damn, it's complicated. You got to figure out how to do stuff here. Like, you can't just jump in. For instance, we have washing machines. So we have laundromats all over the city of Sao Paulo. And this is not just Sao Paulo, this is up north too. I've seen the same thing. And the laundromats, in order for you to use them, you can't just bring some coins and go and mind you, there's a cashless society damn near. We all use other things to pay. And so you can't just roll up and get some coins cash from your eyes, okay? Because you barely can do anything with cash out here. And, getting the coins is not going to help you at the laundromat, because the laundromats require that you use not only your debit card or your credit card, but sometimes they require you to just to know how to use and do these digital scans and different things to get the actual laundry machines working. And so it can be really complicated for someone who, one, doesn't understand and can't read the long-winded ass instructions that are in the laundromat, can't figure it out. So something as basic that we do still with coins in the US and most places, you can't even get done out here unless you, one, can read Portuguese pretty well. You know how to scan, you know how to use your phone to scan, barcodes and different things like that, or whatever those are called. I don't even fucking know what they're called, okay? And you have you have to have some kind of tech savvy to really be able to like maneuver, especially here in the city. And so those are just some of the things. That's one of the things that, stood out for my last tour. Like, damn, I mean, I was able to help them get things going, but you almost really need someone there to help you at first to set things up and to learn the system. But once you get the system down, you're flowing. Things are mostly flowing for you. I'm not going to say everything is really, really like convenient and efficient, but, just the fact that they're working towards that, I see way more development around these kind of things here in Brazil than I've ever seen in the US. Now, mind you, I hardly go to the US, and I'm from there. I have probably spent a total of a month in the US in like the last 7 years or so. So I really don't be out there like that. But hey, from what I've seen, things don't seem to be moving along very quickly. Um, and it is what it is. So that's three of the misconceptions that I can speak about just offhand right now. Brazil is somewhere to consider if you are kind of tired of living in the very strange state that the United States is in right now, which appears to be some form of dictatorship under Mr. T. Strong arm and everything, not following the rules, not abiding by any principles. If you're tired of that being the so-called leader of the country you're in, and you want to search for some other opportunities, and also just tired of seeing all of the ways that they're, gutting and eviscerating the system that was in place in a way that's very impactful for us as brown people, there are different options. Like I said, Austin is up in Nairobi, Kenya. He talks about that a lot and compares it to Brazil a lot. But I'm like, I just think Brazil is in a league of its own. It's not a perfect place, but I'll tell you, as a brown woman, even yesterday, I went to this amazing event. I'm about to post the shore and the video in a little bit. And it was a black running group, okay? And at the running group, there was just tons. I mean, must have been like 300 or 400 of us out there by the time we got going. and everybody had their shirts and their paraphernalia on, and it's called Coge Quilombo. So the name of the running group is Run Quilombo, which is the Quilombo is like a a community, one of the communities that the people during slavery, for those who, believe in chattel slavery theory about things, during slavery, especially here in Brazil, a lot of the slaves would escape and go out and form their own communities, so maroon societies. So the Quilombo, Coge Quilombo is what our running group is called. And it's so special because we go out into these public spaces and just take up space, yo. Because here in Sao Paulo, Brazil does have a background of being very racist institutionally. And so they had already kind of pushed a lot of the brown and black people so where they have to live in the periphery of the country, of the city, because they can't afford to be in the city center. And so they had already gentrified the hell out of this place. And so one of the big things that black Brazilians and Afro Brazilians and stuff are focused on is making sure that they have a presence back here in the center, and they're opening their businesses and they're doing their things here in the center of the city as much as possible, instead of allowing them to be, put in what they call peripheria, something like the periphery. I don't even know how to say the shit. Okay, so that's where a lot of them are out in the outskirts. And so we were out there about 400 deep in our shirts, chanting, singing, walking, and running. So it's a running and a walking group. And so we had our running crew, and they were doing their thing. My daughter was in that group, and they were doing more laps than us. And we walked this whole park, this beautiful park. It's such a beautiful city park. And we walked and made sure we walked a few miles and just made our presence known. And it's not to be obnoxious or nothing like that. But, folks need to understand Afro-Brazilians are here, and they're not just isolated, just in their little friend group or whatever. Like, they're here en masse. Brazil is a black country. There's a lot of black people here. It's just like the U.S. I mean, shit, way more than the U.S. There's where the percentages are way higher of mixed and, black people. And so it's important that that presence is not just shoved to the side just because we're not in Bahia or Rio, where it's very, very prominent. Because here, like I said, tons of black people, more black people in the state of Sao Paulo and in the city of Sao Paulo, percentage-wise, than even up north in like the state of Bahia. But the issue is that it's the way that they have been gentrified, the way that they are kind of put to where they're out of the public eye in a certain way, especially for travelers. If you come here to Sao Paulo, your first thought will be, oh, she's, this is a really white part of Brazil. And it does appear to be very, very Caucasian and white Brazilian. But when you have someone that can guide you and show you, what it really is and how to maneuver, and also not necessarily take you out to the periphery where we're all at, but just so you understand the history of this place and you know how to move around it so that you don't always have to feel like you're the only black person in the environment and stuff. And it's not like that. I mean, Brazil's so mixed, it's so brown that you can't get around us here. But I'm just saying, sometimes you will be like, damn, this is a super predominantly white place here in Sao Paulo, unless you have guidance on where to go and what to do. You know what I'm saying? So that's all I got to say about this place is that, yeah, you have to know, and you will need a helping hand a lot of times when you first come to Brazil. And so that's one of the things about it. A lot of people are nervous to come out here because they know the language is challenging, and they also know that they probably have heard rumors that Brazil's just a little bit of a tough place to immigrate to come to be in. And I will agree with that. That's not a misconception. It is a little bit tough here. And it is good to have a guiding hand and some help and support as you transition here. But it's so worth it. To me, it's one of the best countries in the world. I've lived in, several, not like a ton, like, crazy amounts of countries, but definitely have spent extended times in France, Spain, parts of Africa, Ghana, Senegal, definitely a lot of islands, but a lot of them have been like territories: Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, Hawaii, um, you know, and different parts of Central and South America too. So Costa Rica, Mexico, Brazil several times. So different places that I've actually stayed extended. I don't just go and pop in and leave. I'm there. In most places I go, I'm there for 6 months or more. Like Brazil, somewhere where I've come a lot and have lived, longer term. But and then the Virgin Islands is another spot. But overall, I would say it's one of the best places that you could, find yourself if you want, a good quality of life for a pretty decent cost, so the overhead cost is not as high, nothing like the US, right? Um, and then there's ways to live cheaper. I don't live cheap. I live in Sao Paulo. It's not the cheapest city in Central America or South America. It's not the cheapest city, but it's not that expensive either. But it's not like that bargain discount, basement type bargain energy that some people want when they travel. That's something you get more in, Thailand or something like that, right? But it is affordable. It is cheaper than the States. There are ways to maneuver, especially Sao Paulo, in a very inexpensive way. And it's just an amazing city. I mean, every day of my life, I wake up here. I'm so happy to be here raising my children. And I mean, my daughter's grown, but she's here with me. And she just loves it here. She can maneuver. She's safe. She could take the train. She can Uber around, walk. We walk at night. We walk whenever we want. I mean, ain't nobody out in the middle of the night just walking and stuff, but I'm just saying, we have a good level of freedom to do what we want to do safely, even as women. So it's just something to think about. Does anyone have any questions? I'm going to shut up and answer any questions. I know there's a few of you on, and I'm going to get ready to go up in here and get to work. And also post those shorts. Make sure you check out the short and the video I'm about to post about the event I went to. But yeah, does anyone have any questions? Moonshine, are you still here? Y'all, please put a like on the video when you come in. If you check this out, because it helps a lot. I was just inspired to make this because I was looking at Austin again, that guy, the guy that used to be or he says he used to be a passport bro. I haven't really noticed that much change in his behavior. He seems to still be out here, super desperate for female attention and acting a fool if he don't get it. But I was looking at one of his videos today where he was comparing Brazil to Nairobi. But I can tell just over the last few days, his concept of Nairobi is shifting a little bit. He's feeling like he needs armed security to even go and be moving around. So I'm like, yeah, I don't have that. Everybody be dogging Brazil, and I think he dogs Brazil. Doesn't dog Brazil. I think he adores Brazil and is obsessed with it and got kicked out of here in a certain type of way, like ran out, like he really wouldn't be able to easily be back in Rio, where I think the feminist women came after him for trying to, manipulate and dog women out. And then also just taking advantage of women, man. And so, but he was doing a video comparing the two, and I was like, Brazil is in its own thing. I mean, if you want to experience continental Africa and you resonate with that and you feel like your ancestors are from Africa and it just feels more of a click for you, then that's something to check out. I want to check out Nairobi for sure. But you can't take nothing away from this place. If you move with good energy and the vibe is right, don't mean you won't get robbed eventually or something, potentially pickpocketed or something like that, but you will have a beautiful time. And you will have a time that's full of music and joy and joyful people and good people looking out for you and connections. And it's just an amazing lifestyle here. It's a freed up lifestyle. I sit in my apartment and, I hear just drums everywhere, just drums and music, live music and things happening all the time. I don't even bother to go out and try to catch everything because there's just so much all the time. And I'm an arts and culture person, so that's my passion. So I like to have those things around, even if I can't go and enjoy them. So yeah, y'all, I'm about to go work so I can get off today and go check out an art show. I live near like an amazing arts district where there's a ton of galleries and like street art everywhere and stuff. It's amazing. So I am going out to that this afternoon. But yeah, have a wonderful day, y'all. Mwah. Ciao.